Yes, so we are very excited to talk to you today about how to increase engagement for events, virtual events, everything along those lines. So before we get started, quick question, if you all don't mind. Can you raise your hand if you speak more than one language, please?
I speak a little Spanish.
Oh, great. Okay, I'll raise them high. Come on, guys. Be proud. Okay, nice. Okay, lovely. Okay. Now, put your hands down, please. Thank you. Raise your hand if you ever conduct business in another language than your native language.
Wait, Google Translate, does that count?
Well, no. Okay, great. Now, raise your hand if you prefer to conduct business in your native language. Okay, great. Cool. Well, so we're excited to talk to you about Kudo today. So here's the thing. Increased virtual communication, it's helping us stay connected, but there is one more barrier that needs to be broken, and that is the language barrier. Language barrier is the last barrier to connection for video conferencing. And so Kudo's here to help, and we have a short video that I think will just explain exactly what we do and why we're here to talk to you today.
Buonasera.
Hi.
Hello. Konnichiwa. Hello. We are happy.
Yes.
Happy to talk. Finally.
Yes.
We really loved your products. Thank you.
Thank you.
We want importare legno. Table, import. Okay, yes. Italy? Yes. How many? Not able. No. We want design. Many designs. I'm sorry. Do you buy a table? Yes or no?
Sì, buona importare a fare il design.
Buonasera. Konnichiwa.
Volevamo dirvi che ci sono piaciuti moltissimo.
御社の木材の技術は素晴らしいと思います。弊社は御社の木材を家具を作るために輸入することに興味がある。
ありがとうございます。とても光栄です。こちらもこれから
Abbiamo capito. Costruirete i vostri tavoli con il nostro legno giapponese.
Ok, perfetto allora.
Perfetto.
Grazie ancora.
Grazie mille.
Venite a trovarci in Italia, vi portiamo a
Allora,
pranzo.
pasta.
Mangiamo la pasta insieme.
Great, so that's Kudo. Oh, thank you. Yes, so very hard to run a business meeting with different language barriers, right? But what about events? Inclusivity, accessibility, these are all hot buzzwords right now. Kudo is how you truly run an inclusive event. So what is Kudo? We are a live interpretation technology company. We have a web-based remote simultaneous interpretation platform. We integrate into any video conferencing solution, event platform, website. And not only that, we have a network of 12,000 interpreters, UN grade, and they specialize in over 200 different languages. We offer on-demand interpreter booking. And so we are the tool for engagement, definitely, when it comes to events. So, as I mentioned, we have this network of 12,000 professional interpreters. So just to give you a bit of background on Kudo, we were made by interpreters for interpreters. Our chief language officer is actually the former chief interpreter for the UN. And then also, just so you guys know, I mean, We are confidently trusted to communicate globally by the UN, NATO, Microsoft, Citibank, many, many more. In terms of us, we are a global team. We have just over 170 employees in 12 different time zones. So I'm confident that we can support your event with whatever you need. And yeah, that's a bit about us. So this is our event solution. This is our language access solution. I did mention that we can integrate into any event platform. It's very easy how it's done. It's with an iframe code. And the thing that you'll notice is that we have the unified solution, which is the drop-down language selector. So what is happening in the event if you have Kudo interpretation featured? You select the language, and then you will hear a live interpreter who is providing simultaneous interpretation in real time. This allows attendees to be able to hear the event content in their native language, and it is just incredible to support 32 languages simultaneously at one time.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Haley. I wanted to talk to you today again about increasing engagement and attendance at your virtual events. So when the world went remote in 2020, suddenly the ability to do events like this went away, right? And marketers around the world had to figure out, how do I engage people? How do I continue this experience, this in-person experience, in a virtual manner? And I think companies realized, wow, I figured out the virtual thing. Now I can go global. I can actually reach a lot more people with my events. But as marketers, we understand it's not enough to just build an event. You need people to attend that event, and you need people to engage in that event. So today, I'm going to talk you through what you could do to both increase engagement before your event, improve engagement at your event, and then continue engaging people after your event. So let's talk about before, the planning stage of events. So if you're communicating to a global audience, you need, just like all things in events, to keep your audience in mind. Think about them. When does this make sense to them? What we've recognized in the event space is the day that you plan your event is important. So survey data says that either the second or the second to last day of a work week will be the optimal time for events. In the US, that's Monday to Friday. So you're looking at Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're going to have the best engagement. Obviously, you need to pay attention to the work week in the country where you're hosting this event. So in Israel, countries like that, where they work Sunday through Thursday, then Monday and Wednesday are going to be the best times for events. Time. So if you're scheduling a virtual event, you want to make sure it's a time that makes sense to the workday. So in the US, the times that are successful are kind of 11 to 2. In Europe, we're looking at 8 to 1 in the afternoon. In Asia, 2 to 4. Really pay attention to that. And then, again, increasing engagement and increasing attendance, you want to promote early, and you need to promote often with your virtual events. So we recommend starting your promotion about 6 weeks prior to your event. Then you'll want to make sure, if you get people to sign up, you want those people to actually show up at your event. So you're going to email them a week before, a day before, the day of. That's really going to help improve the amount of people who go from attendance and registration to actually attending your event. Now, during the event, there's lots of things that you can do to make your virtual event engaging to people. So first, sound. The sound. If obviously we had a little technical glitch earlier, you couldn't hear our video. Sound is incredibly important. So we've all gotten comfortable with virtual meetings and virtual events. Maybe in your normal Zoom call, you're fine to just use the computer audio of your laptop. But if you are actually hosting a large virtual event where you want great attendance and engagement, you want to tell your speakers to invest in a good set of headsets, a good set of noise-canceling headphones, so that audio quality is really, really strong. Voting and polling. So engage your customers. Make sure that it's two-way communication. You saw Haley kicked us off today. A little bit of participation. Ask your attendees what they think about different things. So take advantage of systems that actually have voting and polling built into their virtual event marketing platform. Chat. So there's lots of ways to engage your attendees, but chat, Q&A sessions are still the best form of engagement. When you have chat, you want to make sure that you're monitoring it. There should maybe be a separate channel for technical support issues so that the real meat of the conversation can happen in the normal chat flow itself. Accessibility. So Haley mentioned earlier today, accessibility is a big hot button and buzzword, but we need to take steps to actually improve that. Make it an event where everyone feels included. So there are little things that you can do. Captioning exists. Multilingual captioning. You can take it a step further. Make sure that all the languages that are attending have an ability to interact. Sign language interpretation. That's something that's big today. Make sure that your event is inclusive and accessible for all the people you are meeting. And then language inclusivity. You know, we've talked about this. It is so much easier to feel fully invested in an event if you can participate in your native language. Make sure that people can actually cross ethnicities and language and talk and communicate with people all around the world seamlessly. Now, in terms of post-event engagement, so after the event itself, you know, there's things you can do like digital happy hours, continue after the event, some networking, things like that. We've also talked about nurturing. So once the event's happened, you've built a community, they've participated in your live event, keep the conversation going, continue to communicate with them with a nurture stream. Evaluate your event. Each event should get better each time. So figure out what went wrong, what can you improve for the future. And then finally, we want to look at the attendance and the participation data that you've extracted from that event. Again, how can you learn from this data to make your next event even better? After that, I wanted to take you through a few different case studies in the space. And Haley, you and I can kind of dive back and forth on this. So one of our big partners, so I think Haley mentioned earlier, Kudo, we both have our own video conferencing platform, and then we have direct integrations with big event players like Hopin and On24, Microsoft Teams, Hubelo, Bizibo. So anywhere you want to host your virtual event, we can support that. So one of our customers, joint customers with Hopin, is Sensidia. So Sensidia has had a big marquee event. They've been hosting this since 2015. It was an in-person event. Really successful, lots of engagement there. They realized that they wanted to expand this, broaden their reach, go virtual so that they could attract this global audience. Their global audience actually worked in multiple countries, so this event was a big undertaking. It was 3 days of a virtual event. If you've ran virtual events, that's tough to keep somebody's attention for 3 days. A lot of virtual events are done shorter, but this was 3 days, 3 different languages. So it went in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. They had multiple stages and sessions running simultaneously, and they wanted people to be able to drop into any one of those sessions and listen in their own native language. With this event, when they moved this virtually, they saw some amazing improvements over their standard in-person event. So they saw attendance from other countries increase by 60%. They saw the attendance itself, 86% of the people who registered for the event actually attended the event. If you've hosted any virtual events, that's really, really impressive statistics. There's normally, for virtual events, there's a huge drop-off. Lots of people register, but then people, if you get like 30 to 50% of the people to show up, that's good in the virtual event world. They had 86% of those people. And when they actually asked for what people thought of the event, they had a net promoter score of 86. So people engaged, they were able to communicate, build this community that had been disparate. They had been, separated by both language and both by locale, region, and they were able to bring them all together. Sensitivity itself, this is all a developer community that's focused on APIs. So a big goal of their meeting is brainstorming. Let's see, how can we get all of these great minds together and come up with great ideas? And their brainstorming activity was off the charts. Tons of engagement there. So great event on the Sensitivity front. Now, so the other case study that we wanted to dive into is another one that's all about the ROI of multilingual meetings. So, we recognized multilingual meetings can improve your engagement, but they also can significantly reduce some of your costs. You can have great savings there. So, let's see. Hello? Okay. Great. So this company went from, they used to host 5 physical meetings across the world. They decided to combine those 5 meetings into a single virtual event. So with that, they were able to, get different opinions across the world, bring people together, a lot more collaboration there, and additionally, they were able to save some costs there. So they provided live interpretation for this meeting, allowing people to communicate with one another. In general, for this event, they spent $70,000 for the full event with real-time interpretation. Compare that to what they used to pay. They used to pay $500,000 for each of the 5 events. So you went from a $2.5 million investment down to a $70,000 investment. So great on the savings front, but additionally, they had, attendance through the roof compared to their in-person events. So they were able to get to 7,500 people registered for that event. 50% of those, so 3,500 actually ended up joining. Just amazing participation, especially, I think here in the US, we default to English-based communications, and we make people participate in English-based. It's not their native language. This, again, improved engagement, made people feel like this event was for me. I feel included here. I'm not having to step back and communicate in your language. I can communicate and I can participate in my own language. Just an amazing change in the feel that people felt. They felt engaged. They wanted to interact.
I want to
dive into takeaway. Take us away, Haley.
Of course. So, more languages. This is the key to higher engagement for events, meetings, anything that's happening. On top of that, higher participation. When people are able to come in and listen to an event in their native tongue, it is just incredible to experience. And so because of that, you get higher participation, increased attendance, and improved collaboration. You get to experience all the different ideas from backgrounds and cultures, and it just makes for a very interactive, enriched environment.
Great. Engagement. I wanted to open it up to any questions from the audience. Is there anything that you want to share in terms of events that you've hosted virtually, events in driving engagement? Yes.
If I had a question just around those numbers, because we've run lots of events, but 30 to 50% is even generous attendance for the webinars that we've run. Yeah. You mentioned 80-something%. Is that right?
Which one?
80-something% attendance.
Oh yeah, 86%. I know, it's insane for a virtual event.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yep, registration to attendance. Yep.
So what were some of the tactics, or what did you do to nurture those people to increase that level so much?
Yeah, so again, this is our clients nurturing because it's their community. So again, it was an event that people wanted to attend, so they had 3 days of content. So they spent a lot of time building up. Who are the speakers here? What's the content? How can we, again, bring people in to drive this? So some of it was communication ahead of time. As I mentioned, some of those great plans, promote early and often. Invest in your content, invest and plan in your run of show. So that's the other thing with virtual events. What we've found with virtual events is, yes, your physical event could be 2 days long. Your virtual event, in all likelihood, should probably be 90 minutes long. And you should have very short sessions. Keep things moving. If you think of, in the virtual world, you are competing for so much attention. How many of you have multitasked on a webinar you've been on? Like, yeah, I'm paying attention, I'm also slacking, and I'm also answering an email. So you've got to be speedy. There can be no dead air. You've got to get moving. And they had a very tight run of show. That was something that they were really proud of, that of those 3 days, they had zero downtime in those 3 days. They also included some sessions that got people up out of their seat, even though people are in a virtual space. So a virtual coffee hour, a yoga break in the middle of the session that gets people up, brings some oxygen to the body, and keeps things moving. Yes?
I have a question about
slide where it said lights, camera, sound.
Yeah.
Do you have any best practices regarding just when you're speaking and your environment?
Yeah.
Like your background, and our background, something that your platform can provide during meetings?
Yep. So yes. So yeah, lights, camera, sound, all of that is important. So in terms of lighting, you always want to be lit from the front, right? Sure, a window behind you might look great to you, but unfortunately, you're going to be washed out. You want a tidy background behind you. We're all working from home. People understand, this is my home office, but you might want to cover up the fact that your bed is behind you. So nice, crisp and clear. There's certainly some virtual backgrounds out there that the major providers, Microsoft Teams and Zoom and places like that, they've got that built in. I think Hopin has that built in, and we support platforms like that. You had another question, part of that. So some of it was the background, but then did you ask
just the environment and the background as it relates to your product?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks. Yes?
You mentioned that before promoting an event, you need to send like an email 6 weeks before and then 2 weeks. So what happens, because I don't want to spam people or people just unsubscribing from my email newsletters or whatever. So what would be the good practice to avoid that?
Sure. So some of your promotion is obviously going to go to your existing database. And so email's a great channel for that existing database. But my guess is you probably want new people to learn about your message. So in that case, you want to pay attention to social media channels. Get out there, do a great, snapshot of maybe your guest speakers that are going to be coming up. Ask them to shoot a quick viral video for you that you can promote there through social media. You want to use all of those social media channels. Then once people have registered, you've kind of hooked them in, you might want to remind them of some of the content that's coming. You also could nurture them. So there's a big shift to the hybrid world. So you could engage them initially online, but maybe you build something into your agenda for your virtual event where you can send them a physical product ahead of time. Maybe it's little chat bubbles that make it a bit more interactive where it says, yay, a cheers, just like emojis that you could put on sticks that they could use in the virtual event to, again, drive engagement. It also reminds them like, yes, this is why I'm interested in events. This is why I'm coming to something like this. And I'm going to have a similar experience in the virtual world as I did in the real physical world.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
I actually had a question about, so I appreciated your mentioning of like time zone awareness and like, building that into the program. Do you guys offer any sort of resources about like programmatic planning and like integrating cultural competencies into the structure of your program? Just because like, I feel like there's things you can miss, and like, since you guys have so much experience with it, I'm just curious.
Yeah. So while our platform is not doing, adjustments for cultural competency, the main value of investing in interpretation is those interpreters they're not AI-based translators. They actually are understanding the meaning that is being communicated and translating that into a culturally relevant yet similar meaning in the other language. So that's where I think we're attacking that from, but interested to hear if you have any other feedback on that front.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that the interpreters, they are professional, they are proficient in their language, and that's exactly what they do. And I hear it all the time from clients when I do demos. They are just absolutely blown away by the interpretation experience. It's incredible. If you speak the language, then you could hear you. That's what they say all the time. It's exactly what you're talking about. It's amazing.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, one over here.
Thank you. This is for businesses, right? So you would have to, you'd have to know ahead of time. It's not something where it would be like a last minute situation if you need a translator and you weren't aware that you needed a translator before. How would that work?
Right. So normally for virtual events, because you are planning 6 weeks ahead of time, right? You're going to book that. Kudo, our marketplace of 12,000 interpreters that are around the world, we can book them in as little as 2 hours in advance of a meeting event. So you can't add them last minute, but pretty last minute. If you're hosting a virtual event, you're probably going to plan ahead of time, but we are able to accommodate last minute requests, as long as that last minute is 2 hours long.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. You can find us at kudoe.com. Follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks all.
Thank you.